Hey y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have the Retro Remix collection that's available right now from LeChat Nails. These were sent to me for review, and I'll leave LeChat's storefront and social media down below. What I have today is the perfect match set, so that means that it comes with both the UV LED gel polish and the Dare to Wear lacquer line all in one set, so they match perfectly if you get any chips, or if you'd rather just put the lacquer on your toes for matching a mani-pedi, these are perfect for that. So I'll go ahead and get into the swatch and review. This first polish is probably my favorite, and it is called Heartthrob. This is a very bright, just a hot dark pink. So this is pretty accurate here. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how the Dare to Wear lacquer applied on my nails. So I do have my regular base coat on today. I had no staining with any of these. This first coat goes on amazing. These are true neons. You don't need a base coat at all. I did have a small flash of nail line, so I'll let that dry and come back in for a second coat. This second coat for sure brings it completely opaque. Some of these dry down a little bit matte, so I do recommend a nice glossy top coat, but the formula on these is absolutely impeccable. So next I'll show you how the UV LED gel polish applied on my nail. I am very new to gels, but I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot. These are on the thicker side. When you're applying gels, you do want to make sure that you go in for just a bit of a thinner coat to make sure you had even drying underneath the UV light. I only had one polish that I had some wrinkling issues with. So this first coat goes on nice and smooth. It is thicker, so you just want to make sure that you get all the excess polish off before drying. I'm using a tiny little heart lamp that I bought from Amazon. I'll link it down below if you're interested. It does work really well. I'm just going to let it dry for about 15 to 20 seconds or so, and then wipe off the shiny layer with an alcohol wipe. So here I'm going to go in for my second coat, and this brings this one completely opaque and no problems at all. This did dry down glossy, but once I took off that sticky layer, it did dry down a little bit matte, so I do recommend a nice top coat with the gels as well. So I'll show you how this looks across the nail. Remember, on my middle nail is the gel polish. The gel polish might be a little bit brighter, and it does react much stronger underneath UV lighting, but pretty much a perfect match. So here's a look at that swatch at an angle underneath my artificial lighting. So next up is Peach Blast, and this is a more pastel peachy toned. It is still very bright on the nail. Here's a look at that bottle. It's just a flat cream. All of these have no shimmer or anything like that, just nice basic bright creams. So here's a look at that brush shot, and I'll show you how Peach Blast lacquer swatched on my natural nail. So here is my first coat. This one, again, just a nice, easy formula. I'm really impressed with all of the Dare to Wear, especially. I'm a little bit newer to those gels, so I did struggle a little bit, but I was really happy with the end result, especially with the wear time. So I'll let that dry and then come back in and show you my second coat. I did have a really awesome coverage with that first coat. If you have shorter nails, you could totally probably get away with just one coat. Two coats for sure cleans up those edges and makes it completely opaque. I think this is one of the ones that dried down nice and glossy as well. So next I'll show you how the gel polish swatched on my middle nail. Here's a look at that brush shot. Again, a little bit thicker, but nice and even color. And I'll show you how it's swatched. On the base coat on my middle nail, I am using my peel off base coat from Cuticula. I am going to have reports on wear time. I'm testing it right now on my left hand, so I'll let you know how long those lasted with this base coat. So at one coat, again, really close to being full coverage. I did go ahead and cure it. I'm going to go in for a second coat here for sure for complete coverage. So again, just make sure you want to go nice and thin. This was the one I had some wrinkling issues with, so I think I went a little bit too thick here before curing, so just be mindful of that. So here's a look at that completed mani. Again, I do have the gel on my middle nail here. So here's a look at that swatch photo at an angle underneath my artificial lighting. So next up is Blazing Sun, and this is a very goldenrod type yellow. It does have lots of orange tones in there that keep it nice and bright on the nail. I am extremely excited to share this formula with you, so I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Blazing Sun swatched on my natural nail. So here is that first easy coat. This one covers amazing at one coat. It's not completely opaque. I did have some nail line there, but you know yellows can be tricky, and this is a great one. So I'll let this dry and then come back in and show you what my second coat looks like. So here is my second coat. I am going a little bit thick here with my coats, but I did have complete coverage in just 2. I think that these self-level really well. They were just really easy to work with. You guys know I don't try to hard sell you on polishes. I just show you them and try to show you the facts. These I'm really impressed with. So next I'll show you how Blazing Sun in the UV gel formula swatched on my nail. Again, a little bit of a thicker formula here, so I'll go ahead and show you how it applied on my middle nail using my peel off base coat. So here I'm just going to go in for a nice even coat. I did try not to get too much product on the nail before curing. So 1 coat makes for pretty good coverage. I did have some nail line there though, and a little bit of fuzzy there on the corner of my nail. I did clean up there before I cured it in my cuticle area. So here's a look at that second coat. Again, I'm going to go for a nice even coat here, and this does bring this one completely opaque, no problems at all. So here's a look at that completed mani. Again, I do have the gel polish on my middle nail. You can see these guys are just a perfect match, and this is my swatch photo at an angle underneath that artificial lighting. So next up is Flashback, and this one did photograph a little bit more blue or cool tone for me than it is in person. This is just a very bright, almost grass green polish. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and it was flaming in my camera. It is very bright. I don't think it's necessarily this bright though. So I'll show you how the Dare to Wear Lacquer swatched on my natural nails. This first coat goes on so creamy, so easy, really smooth. Not complete coverage, but really close at 1 coat. So I'll let that dry and come back in for a second. So here's a look at that second coat. This for sure brings this one completely opaque, no problems at all. I didn't necessarily go in for thick coats for this one either, just nice, even, really easy coats. So next I'll show you how the Flashback UV LED gel swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that brush shot. Again, a little bit thicker up here, but not unruly or too hard to use. So I'll show you what it looks like over that peel off base coat. 1 coat goes on nice and smooth. I would say that the majority of these are 2 coat formulas. This one may be just a little bit more sheer, so you may need to do 3 depending on your application. I did try to get nice and close to my lines there, just making sure that wasn't having any pulling issues at all. So I cured that, and then I'll show you what my second coat looks like. This second coat does build it up right to the edge of being opaque. I think this is going to be personal preference as well as application if you prefer 2 or 3. I am going to go ahead and cure this and show you what a third coat looks like. So here's a look at that third coat, and this for sure brings this one completely opaque, no issues at all, and I definitely feel like it is worth that third coat. I did try to be a little bit careful here. I hate to clean up my cuticles on the best of days. Gel polishes are not necessarily hard to clean up, but you do want to make sure that you clean them up before you cure them underneath your light. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but this light that I'm using today is an LED light. So here's a look at that completed mani. Again, gel on the middle nail. It may have been maybe a touch darker, but super, super close to that regular traditional lacquer. So here's a look at that completed mani at an angle underneath that artificial lighting. And next up is Dive In, and this is a really gorgeous blue. It's almost sky blue with a touch of robin's egg maybe in there, very bright on the nail. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Dive In swatched on my natural nails in the Dare to Wear Lacquer. So this first coat does go on a little bit sheer. I will say that I feel like this is one of the sheerest of the collection, which is strange in a blue, but it did go on really nice and easy. It is on the thinner side, so if you don't like the thicker formulas, this one may be right up your alley. So here's a look at that second coat. 2 coats is going to bring this one right to the edge of being opaque for me. I think it's going to boil down to personal preference and or application technique. I do want to go ahead and show you what my third coat looks like. I did opt to go in for a third, and this for sure brings this one completely opaque for me. Again, I do feel like it's worth it for that nice even finish. So next I'll show you how the Dive In UV LED gel swatched on my natural nails. So here's a look at that brush shot. Again, a little bit of a thicker formula, which I actually prefer. So here's a look at how it swatched on my middle nail. Again, just like it was in the lacquer, this one is a little bit more on the sheer side. So I am going to go in for a nice thin coat here just to get an even base going. Then I'll cure that underneath my LED lights and come back in and show you what my second coat looks like. So here's a look at that second coat. I'm going to go for a little bit on the thicker side. I didn't want to push it too much because I didn't want to have any of that wrinkling. 2 coats did not bring this one opaque for me. So I'll finish this one up, cure it, and then come back in and show you what my third coat looks like. So here's a look at that third coat. This third coat does bring this one completely opaque. I have no problems doing 3 coats with this color, especially in the gel line, because you know you're going to get an awesome long wear time. So here's a look at that completed mani. Again, gel on my middle nail. And here is my swatch photo at an angle underneath artificial lighting. So lastly today I have High Voltage, and this is a very bright plummy purple. So this one is probably my second favorite of the collection, just a really gorgeous purple cream. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how High Voltage swatched on my natural nail in the Lacquer line. This polish could absolutely be a 1-coat polish. I had awesome coverage here. I did have some low spots on a few nails though, so I am going to finish this coat, let it dry, and come back in and show you what a second looks like. So here's a look at that second coat. This one is going to dry down deliciously matte. I absolutely love it with a matte finish, but I do like a glossy top coat as well. 2 coats for sure, no problems, brings this one completely opaque. I did have a little bit of flooding there, but I think that was due to my application. I'm just going to clean it up with acetone and a cleanup brush really quickly. So I didn't have any staining issues or anything like that with this polish. Next, I'll show you how it's swatched in the UV LED Soak Off Gel formula. So here's a look at that brush shot. It just looks absolutely gorgeous in the bottle. I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like on my middle nail as well. So here is this first coat. I did go in for a nice even first coat. I feel like with this thicker formula, it does make it really easy to put this polish exactly where you want it. So I'm going to make sure that it's nice and even throughout, not too thick on the nail, calf the tip, cure it, and then show you what a second coat looks like. This one wasn't completely opaque, and one like the lacquer, so here's a look at that second coat. 2 coats brings this one completely opaque, no problems at all. I'm going to calf the tip once more and then cure it. So here's a look at that completed mani. Once more gel on my middle nail and then the lacquer on my others. This is before a top coat, so you can see how matte it dries as well. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting at an angle, and that wraps up today's swatch and review of the Retro Remix collection available right now from LeChat Nails. If you like this format, let me know down below if you'd like seeing the gels and the lacquers together. I am having another collection come in that I'm going to share with you guys, and if you like it, I'll do it just like this one. If you'd like to see more photos, I do have those available on my blog at sloppyswatches.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.